Hello and welcome to Business 360. I'm Archana Solanki. Here are the headlines we're tracking this evening. Sensex and Nifty end with marginal losses on the penultimate trading day of 2025. Banks, auto and metal stocks outperform. Rupee gains against the dollar but remains close to the 90 mark. Prime Minister Modi expresses deep concern after Russia alleges Ukraine attempted to attack Vladimir Putin's residence. Ukraine's Zelensky denies the charge and accuses Moscow of trying to derail peace talks. India's Russian oil imports dropped sharply in December to the lowest level in 3 months, but data from Kepler shows Russia remains India's top oil supplier. President Trump offers full-throated support to Israel, and Prime Minister Netanyahu, after a meeting in Florida, says Israel has 100% lived up to the Gaza peace plan, warns Hamas will have hell to pay if it fails to disarm. Khaleda Zia, Bangladesh's first female Prime Minister, dies at 80. Prime Minister Modi condoles her death. Zia's son, Tariq Rahman, returned to Bangladesh after a self-imposed exile of 17 years and is likely to be the prime ministerial frontrunner in the parliamentary elections scheduled in February. Insurance regulator is working on draft regulations to crack down on payout of commissions to agents, seeks segmental data from insurers. Financial Service Secretary cites several complaints over high commissions and blames it for rising premiums. Indigo's market share declines in November by 200 basis points as the new rest rules for pilots and crew took effect. This was before the mass cancellations of flights that left over 9 lakh passengers stranded at the start of December. Shares of Zomato's parent Eternal hit a 5-month low. The CFO of Blinkit, Vipin Kapuria, resigns just a year after joining the quick commerce arm. Kapuria is likely to return to Flipkart, where he spent 7 years ahead of the proposed IPO. Facebook's parent Meta set to acquire Agentic AI Firm Manus for over $2 billion. This is the first major instance of a US big tech company buying a company with Chinese root. Softbank also buys AI infra firm Digital Bank for $4 billion to cap a year of aggressive deal making. Also on the show, the diamond industry in Surat seeks urgent government intervention to stay afloat as Trump's 50% tariffs deal a body blow. A special ground report coming up. All right, let's start with the day's market action. A range-bound session on the last street sees the Nifty and Sensex end flat. Nifty held above the 25,900 mark. Banks outperformed, with the Nifty Bank closing nearly 0.5% higher. Auto and metal stocks also rose in a weak market and helped keep losses in check. Gold prices have risen to recover from the 2-week low that it hit in the previous session. The bullion has been on a golden run in 2025, climbing 66% so far. This on the back of rising safe haven appeal amidst geopolitical conflicts and robust demand from central banks. Silver also rebounded from the 5-year low that it fell to after hitting all-time highs in the previous trading session. However, the metal remains well below yesterday's peak. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has expressed concern after Russia alleged that Ukraine attacked President Vladimir Putin's residence. PM Modi also urged Russia and Ukraine to focus on diplomatic efforts to end hostilities. And in a social media post, he said this. Russia's foreign minister has said that there were no injuries as the 91 long-range strike drones used in the attack were shot down. The Kremlin has said that this will not go unanswered. Ukraine's President Zelensky has denied Moscow's claim, accusing Russia of trying to derail peace talks. However, Trump expressed anger over the alleged attack, telling reporters that he was, and I quote, very angry when Putin told him about the attack.
Ukraine had tried to attack President Vladimir Putin's residence in northern Russia, an accusation Ukraine said is a lie. Without presenting any evidence, Lavrov said Ukraine attacked the presidential residence in the Novgorod region with 91 long-range drones, which he said were all destroyed by Russian air defenses. Lavrov said no one was injured and there was no damage. He said that targets had already been selected for retaliatory strikes by Russia's armed forces. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky denied that his country had planned such an attack. Zelensky said that Moscow was preparing the ground to strike government buildings in Kyiv and that the claim was an attempt to undermine peace talks. The angry exchanges, including a statement by Russia that it was reviewing its stance in negotiations in response to the attack, dealt a new blow to prospects for peace in Ukraine.
Worried that the alleged strike on Putin's residence could scuttle the peace.
Yeah, I don't like it. It's not good. I heard about it this morning. You know who told me about it? President Putin told me about it. Early in the morning, he said he was attacked. It's no good. It's no good. Don't forget, the Tomahawks. I stopped the Tomahawks. I didn't want that. Because we're talking about, it's a delicate period of time. This is not the right time. It's one thing to be offensive, because they were offensive. It's another thing to attack his house. It's not the right time to do any of that, and can't do it. And I learned about it from President Putin today. I was very angry about it.
Well, despite escalating Russia-Ukraine tensions after Moscow's accusations, crude oil prices remain flat. This, as an expected rise in U.S. oil inventories, temporarily put a cap on gains. In fact, analysts expect prices to trend downwards in the first quarter of 2026 due to what they call a growing oil glut. While India's imports of Russian oil has hit a 3-month low, Russia remains India's top oil supplier. According to Kepler, India imported 1.1 million barrels a day in December, the lowest since November of 2022. However, imports are expected to improve in 2026 as Russian intermediaries and traders are likely to make a comeback in the supply chain. Sapna Das is here with the details. Sapna.
Well, absolutely. This is an industry report which has been brought out by Kepler, so we need to be mindful of that. Having said that, the report very clearly indicates that there has been a sharp decline in the Russia crude oil import volume in the month of December. This is data up to 30th December. And if you look at what it was in October, somewhere around 1.61 million barrels per day, which had shot up to around 1.84 MBD in November, just ahead of the sanctions kicking in. And then the impact of the sanctions is now visible. The volumes are down to around 1.14 as of 30th December. However, having said that, we need to be still mindful of the fact that Russia continues to be the top crude oil supplier to India. Around 25% of our imports are still sourced from that country. Having said that, we also need to be mindful of the fact that what happens now in 2026, well, as per the Kepler report, which indicates very clearly that the intermediaries, the Russian intermediaries, the trading partners, they are expected to take over in a big way, in the absence of the commercial presence of Rosneft, mainly for India, and broadly even Lukoil, so to say. So these intermediaries and trading partners are expected to keep those crude oil barrels coming into India. And this is likely to kind of rebound sometime Jan, Feb, March in 2026. That's what the Kepler report indicates clearly. And anyway, the bottom line is that 25% of our imports are still coming from Russia, despite the sharp decline that we are seeing in the month of December. Last but not the least, in terms of the top crude oil suppliers to India, well, not much of a change in the rankings there, apart from the Russian Federation. You have Iraq coming in a big way, and also the Saudis, followed by the United Arab Emirates, and US still continues to be the 5th largest crude oil supplier to India. The volumes had gone up basically in the month of October and November, but December there seems to be some bit of a decline. So more or less that ranking remains the same, and Russia continues to dominate the table.
Right. Thank you, Sapna, for that update. Shifting focus now, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu met U.S. President Donald Trump at his private residence in Florida yesterday. This was his 5th visit to the nation since the Trump inauguration in January this year. Both the leaders heaped praises on one another, projected a united front, but offered few details on their talks. President Trump claimed that Israel is helping the people of Gaza and dismissed all the ceasefire violations. He also called Netanyahu a hero and reiterated his support to the Israeli government. Trump also issued a stern warning to Hamas. He said that if the Palestinian group refused to give up weapons, it would be very bad for them. The US president also suggested that Washington will carry out further military action against Iran if they rebuild their nuclear facilities. Netanyahu announced that President Trump will be awarded the Israel Prize, the country's highest civilian honor that is usually reserved for Israeli citizens. He also thanked Trump for his support in Israel's war against Hamas. Israeli forces have killed over 400 Palestinians in Gaza since the start of the ceasefire. The military continues to blockade into the besieged enclave. Here's a report on the meeting between the two leaders.
I hope they're not trying to build up again, because if they are, we're going to have no choice but very quickly to eradicate that buildup. Iran may be behaving badly. It hasn't been confirmed, but if it's confirmed, look, they know the consequences. Consequences will be very powerful.
And sticking with Iran, large protests have erupted after the country's currency plummeted to a record low against the US dollar. The head of the country's central bank has resigned after the largest protest in 3 years across cities. Protesters confronted security forces in many cities, with authorities deploying tear gas amid street clashes. Iran's president has called on his government to listen to protesters' legitimate demands. The punitive 25% additional tariffs imposed by the US have been catastrophic for India's diamond industry, because the US is one of the biggest export destinations for diamonds cut and polished in India. CNBC TV 18 Santiago reports that exporters and workers in India's diamond hub of Surat in Gujarat are seeking immediate government intervention as they struggle to stay afloat.
When 2025 began, demand for China for Indian diamonds was weak, but strong demand from key markets like the US offered some comfort. This vanished when President Trump imposed punitive additional tariffs of 25% on Indian goods, including diamonds, taking total overall tariffs to 50%. Diamond exporters have since taken on heavy losses, with exports falling by nearly 50%. Many have shut shop or been forced to move to lab-grown diamonds, which have thin margins. Thousands of workers who cut and polish diamonds have lost their jobs. In Surat alone, estimates put these job losses at over 1.5 lakhs. The sector is now looking to the government to help out urgently.
जो कारीगर हैं उनको हेल्प करनी चाहिए. वो कारीगर बेचारे, उनके बच्चे हैं, घर में मर रहे हैं, तकलीफ में आ रहे हैं, वो कहीं ना कहीं छोड़ के जा रहे हैं, तो वहाँ जाके सहायता करनी चाहिए, कारीगरों को सहायता करनी चाहिए.
India has signed free trade agreements with countries like the UK and Oman, and trade deals with Switzerland, Norway, Iceland and Liechtenstein. These promise new markets, but establishing trade for items like diamonds takes time. Industry is also pinning its hopes on a quick conclusion to an Indo-US trade deal to revive demand from that major market. But they say that till any of this happens, government support remains crucial.
They should remove the tariff to the lowest prices possible. So it's easy for every customer to buy if the prices are almost near in every part of the country.
I would suggest that if the government can provide some tax benefit or some incentive, so that we can pass on the benefit to our clients in other countries, then it would help to grow the exports.
I think we can appeal to the government to increase more other cities where the tariffs are more, where India can reduce their tariffs and ease in the business for people to do business in other countries.
Meanwhile, diamond workers are facing the highest pressure. They are losing jobs or facing pay cuts, and the industry says this section of the workforce needs immediate assistance.
Diamond exporters say once skilled laborers will move to another occupation, it will be very difficult to cater to demand when it returns. Their appeal to the government is to provide a financial assistance package to these workers to retain them within the industry, so that India is ready when demand picks up. In Mumbai, with camera person Altaf, this is Santya for CNBC TV 18.
Indigo's market share has slid from 65.6% in October to 63.6% in November. These figures are from a month before Indigo's flight crisis commenced. The revised FDTL norms also came into effect from the 1st of November. Meanwhile, Indigo has hiked pilot allowances across all duty types. This has come weeks after the budget carrier faced a nationwide flight crisis. The airline has increased remuneration for domestic layover, deadhead allowance, night and domestic transit allowance. These changes will be effective from the 1st of January. Shares of Indigo also tanked nearly 2% on the back of this development. Quick commerce major Blinkit's CFO Vipin Kapuria has resigned only a year after taking charge. Kapuria joined Blinkit Eternal's quick commerce arm in late 2024. According to reports, he is expected to return to his former employer Flipkart in a senior finance role. The resignation comes at a time when competition in India's quick commerce sector is intensifying. Eternal's shares fell over 1.5%. Prime Minister Narendra Modi met eminent economists and sectoral experts to seek their views on the upcoming budget. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, Niti Aayog Vice Chairman Suman Beri and other members of the Niti Aayog were also present in this meeting. All right, time for a short break. Coming up next, Facebook's parent Meta set to acquire Agentic AI firm Manus for over $2 billion. This is the first major instance of a US big tech company buying a company with Chinese roots. More details when we return. Welcome back. Former Bangladesh Prime Minister Khaleda Zia died at 80 after prolonged illness. Her funeral has been scheduled for Wednesday. Born in West Bengal's Jalpaiguri, Khaleda Zia entered the political arena after the assassination of her husband, former President Ziaur Rahman. She led the Bangladesh Nationalist Party to victory in the 1991 elections, becoming the country's first female Prime Minister. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi condoled her death and highlighted her contribution to India-Bangladesh relations. Zia's son, Tariq Rahman, returned to Bangladesh last week after a self-imposed exile of 17 years. He is likely to be the prime ministerial frontrunner in the upcoming parliamentary elections that are scheduled in the month of February. 2025 has been a year of aggressive deal-making in the artificial intelligence space, and this year is closing with two more deals. Meta is set to acquire AI startup Manus for over $2 billion. This is the first acquisition by a US big tech firm of an AI company with Chinese roots. Softbank is also shelling out $4 billion to end the year with the acquisition of Digital Bridge. Rachna is here with the details. Rachna.
If there is one deal that explains how AI ecosystem is being reorganized in 2025, it is Meta's acquisition of Manus. On paper, the deal is estimated at over $2 billion. Strategically, it is far larger. Manus was originally built by Beijing-based butterfly effect technology before re-domiciling to Singapore. And that move mattered. It allowed the company to move out of the tightening US-China technology crossfire and, crucially, avoid the kind of scrutiny that the Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States would almost certainly have triggered had Manus remained China-based. For Meta, this is not just another AI upgrade. Manus specializes in agentic AI, systems designed to act on their own rather than wait for human prompts. Its models have topped global benchmarks, and the implication is commercial and immediate. WhatsApp and Instagram can now evolve from communication platforms into autonomous operators capable of booking travel, conducting research, or managing small businesses all end-to-end. And this is where the story widens. While Meta is quietly absorbing elite AI capability talent through regulatory arbitrage, Masayoshi Son is playing a parallel and far more capital-intensive game. Through Softbank, Son is no longer just betting on software. He's buying the physical world AI depends on, a strategy that has sharpened since Softbank exited NVIDIA. Softbank's $4 billion acquisition of Digital Bridge gives it control over data centers, fiber networks, and cell towers, taking Softbank-linked infrastructure assets beyond $100 billion. More importantly, Digital Bridge portfolio company Vantage Data Centers is building massive AI campuses for OpenAI that effectively places Softbank at the physical foundation where the future frontier models will be trained and deployed. Softbank is also one of OpenAI's largest backers, if you remember. It's reported $22.5 billion investment, part of a broader $30 billion commitment, accelerated after OpenAI announced its transition to a for-profit public benefit structure. The markets are already speculating about a $1 trillion IPO window. Seen together, the pattern is clear. Meta's consolidating intelligence and talent. Softbank is consolidating infrastructure and control. One owns the agents and the other owns the ground they very much run on. So this is no longer just about better models or faster chips as we thought. It is about who controls the systems, the rules, and the physical reality of artificial intelligence. And that is where power is now shifting.
Right, thank you, Rachna, for the comprehensive update. Shifting focus now, the government's top auditor has flagged major lapses in the implementation of the National Biopharma mission. The CAG's audit report highlighted that the mission had severe manpower constraints and irregular hiring practices. Santya Gora has more. Santya, please tell us about the gaps highlighted in the CAG report.
So, a scathing CAG audit report has flagged serious lapses in the implementation of the National Biopharma Mission, a flagship program aimed at making India globally competitive in biopharmaceuticals and improving public health through affordable products. The audit has found that the mission suffered from chronic manpower shortages. Against 51 sanctioned posts, only 12 positions were filled in the program management unit. No technical heads were hired, and the post of mission director remained vacant for 2 years without any explanation. In all, 39 positions stayed vacant throughout the mission. The report also flags hirings without provisions. Despite no mandate to appoint a consultant for enabling and training, one was hired with a budget of 5 crore rupees. The contract award process lacked transparency, with advertisements reportedly published in only one national daily in many cases and details not shared with auditors. CAG has also pointed out that questionable spending happened. The mission paid 58 lakh rupees as rent for International AIDS Vaccine Initiative office premises without any contractual obligation. Contracts were poorly structured, lacked consistency, and did not ensure accountability. Grants were released without milestones being met. Funds were dispersed even when project phases were incomplete. In several cases, expenses worth 47.23 crore rupees were not scrutinized, and unrecovered dues totaled 8.38 crore rupees. Most importantly, products were launched under only 14.94% of targeted projects. And in some cases, there was no clause to ensure affordability of vaccines and other services. The CAG report concludes that these lapses led to delays and potential project failures, raising serious questions on governance and oversight.
All right. Thank you, Sandhya, for that report. With that, it's a wrap on Business 360. Stay tuned for more news and updates. Thank you for watching.